welcome to part 2 of this series on how to study. And if you haven't already, check out part 1 where we talked about scheduling and setting up your workspace. This segment is going to be focused on how to choose your technology, specifically your computer hardware, for maximum efficiency when you're completing your studies. And a computer is pretty much essential for almost all levels of education at this point. So I think the first principle is understanding that your computer is a professional tool. And there are some things that you should cheap out on, and this is not one of them. You really want to buy a computer for its long-term value. And if you have a computer that crashes and it's slow and it creates hurdles for you, it's going to be problematic for you in the long run. So I think it's very important for you to buy a computer that works well and that will last you a long time, hopefully all throughout your educational career. And in general, low quality, cheap products are just that. They are going to break down, eventually they're going to be tossed, and you're going to have to replace them. And the thing is, with a computer, that could be something where if it breaks down in a critical time, you could lose all of your notes, you could lose a presentation that you're about to give, you could lose a lot in your educational career. So it's very important that you buy a computer that lasts you a long time, that doesn't crash, doesn't freeze, doesn't lose your presentation the day before, doesn't lose your notes, and just basically makes things easier for you to work on. And ideally, you'll just keep one computer throughout the entire segment of your education, for example, the course of a 4-year degree. So one of the first questions right off the bat that people have is, should I get an iPad or should I get a laptop? And I would argue that in most schools today, there are still programs that you need a laptop to run on. And I think an iPad should be thought of as a supplemental device. It's something that you can use, but I don't think it should be thought of as your main device to use on a day-to-day basis. Some people end up using an iPad and a laptop as well, but I think that it complicates your workflow. And you have to remember that the more complicated your workflow is, the more difficult it will be for you to get in the zone for studying. And just one small example, I have 2 laptop chargers, and one stays on my desk at all times and one is in my backpack at all times. So if you have an iPad and you have a computer, then you need to carry around an iPad charger and a computer charger. And let's say one day you forget your iPad, or one day you forget your MacBook, or one day you forget your charger for either of them. And that will be a barrier for you to study. So I think it's important to have the least amount of physical barriers, and that way you also have the least amount of mental barriers to you getting in the zone and getting your work done. So I think that it's important to have one solid device, and I'd recommend starting with a laptop rather than an iPad. Additionally, it's a hassle to transfer your files between 2 different devices. I know there's a lot of programs available to transfer your files between your computer and your iPad, but it's simply a hassle. It is an extra step, an extra difficulty, and you want to simplify and minimize the amount of steps you need to start studying. And pound for pound, I definitely would say a laptop is worth your money more than an iPad. The next question that people have is, should I get a Mac or should I get a Windows computer? And just to simplify things, I think if you have an iPhone, you should definitely get a Mac. And basically the way the Apple ecosystem is set up, there's a lot of things that can sync between your Mac and your iPhone, and I'll do a video exactly on how I sync things between my MacBook and my iPhone. And I think that if you actually master this ecosystem, it can actually make things a lot easier for you as a student. I don't know a whole lot about Windows computers, but I will say you want to choose a device that you have very carefully. From my experience with all of my friends, it seems like Windows computers do crash a little bit more, so when you're selecting a Windows computer, be sure that you ask your friends what models they have and read the reviews to make sure you're getting a device that'll last you for a long time. That being said, I know that MacBooks are relatively expensive. So I just wanted to give you some tips on how to make MacBooks more affordable for you. So for example, right here, I have a 2015 MacBook Pro, and I actually bought this in 2017 as a certified refurbished laptop. And I've had it for about 3 years now. I've never had any issues with it, and I would strongly recommend that if you are concerned about pricing, definitely take a look at the certified refurbished section on Apple, and I'll put a link to that down below. I think Apple's certified refurbished program is an excellent way to get laptops that are good quality, maybe a year older, but they're a lot cheaper and more affordable for you. Apple also has a student discount that you can use. Additionally, Apple does have a trade-in program, so you can trade in old devices and get credit towards your new device. As far as the specific requirements for your laptop, when you're considering, definitely check out your school's website and see if they have a specific recommendation that they require per your school. I would say that a minimum recommendation that I would have is getting a laptop with 8 gigabytes of RAM. And oftentimes people believe that the speed in your computer comes from the processor speed, for example, an i5 or an i7 processor, and that does contribute a little bit, but actually the biggest contributor is going to be the amount of RAM that you have. So I would recommend you get a minimum of 8 gigabytes of RAM, and I would also strongly suggest that you get a laptop that has a solid state drive. And basically a solid state drive doesn't have any moving parts inside of it, and it's a lot quicker. And it also, if you drop your laptop or if you move it around, the hard drive is less likely to crash. So you want to check that you have a solid state drive, and I would recommend getting a minimum of 256 gigabytes of storage for your laptop. So going over the specs one more time, I would recommend you get a minimum of 8 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of hard drive storage as a solid state drive in whatever computer that you choose to get. And of course, you want to check the specific requirements that your school may have. One additional item that I believe is actually a game changer and can literally double your productivity is having a second monitor. I think the external monitor is well worth the investment. The one I have here is the HP 25XW. I believe it's no longer in production, but when I bought it, it was around $150. I think that a dual monitor is absolutely a game changer for every single student. I'll show you guys what I'm working on right now with my dual monitor setup as just one small example of how a dual monitor can double your productivity. And also my next video is going to be on my software setup, and I'll show you exactly how I set up my 2 screens for maximum study efficiency. So I wanted to show you guys exactly how I use my dual monitor setup for maximum productivity. And this is what I'm working on right now. And basically we're trying to publish references for a book chapter for our editor to go over. So on the left hand, you can see I have the bibliography open in Microsoft Word. And then I have on my right window on my MacBook, I actually have the library site for our school open. And in it, I'm searching the full text articles. So then I can download the PDF and upload it on the left hand window. I actually have Box open, which is basically like Google Drive that we use for our school. And I upload the PDF directly into that site. So it just basically simplifies your workflow. I think that overall, a second monitor is really a game changer, and I strongly recommend that each and every one of you incorporate a second monitor into your workflow. So that's part 2 of our How to Study series, where we talked about how to select a computer that works for you and the importance of having an external monitor. So look forward to part 3, where we're going to be talking about the exact software systems that I use for maximizing my study efficiency, and thank you all for tuning in.